Night, Annunciation of the Lord Parish. My name is Father Rob Arsenault, and it's the Pastor's Chat. So it's a snowy night here. This is deep into January. I have to check my watch. Even it's the 25th of January. So we're actually near the end of January, so it's not entirely surprised it's snowing, but it is one of those wintry nights that it's kind of nice to help you inside and maybe a nice cup of tea, a little book, maybe a little television, something nice and warm, because it is not a nice night to be out there. I think we're going to get 15 to 20 centimeters tonight into tomorrow. So it's probably going to, I've been getting up early and doing some workouts in the morning. I think tomorrow's workout's going to involve a snowblower, so that's most of Ottawa tonight. Anyway, Father Rob. So what's been going on? Well, there's a couple of things we need to talk about with weather. It's always nice to talk about the weather. And next thing I think we'll talk about is last week. Last week I was away. I wasn't on the Pastor's Chat. We were doing long-term planning for the Companions of the Cross. So myself and the other priests on the Executive Council, so Father Roger, Father Rick, Father Simon, and Father David, and myself, we're up at our farm. We call it the farm, the Novitiate, near Cumbermere, Ontario. And kind of a deep dive, it's good to do that in any institution. Probably quarterly actually be good if we could do it, but it's just hard to get us all together. In fact, I think in the first time in 3 years since we've been elected, that's only the second time we've all been together physically. And it's the first time I think we've been all together without, somebody else's agenda. We could just focus on what we needed to talk about. Now, Executive Council long-term planning, obviously, I'm not liberty to talk about too much. If Father Roger is watching this right now, he's a little nervous. No, I can't talk about obviously the things that we discuss. It's in camera. It's not super secret, but it's just, these are things that we're looking at. But I can tell you general themes of what we're talking about, because something's kind of interesting. We actually borrowed this from CCO, Catholic Christian Outreach, and they've been doing their planning, and they noticed something like every time you do these sorts of things, it's nice to look out 5-10 years. Well, 10 years from now, it's going to be 2033, and that's going to be 2,000 years in salvation history, like 2,000 years since the time Christ died on the cross for us. And what a great thing to start looking forward to. I'm sure it'll be a holy year of some kind and be celebrated throughout the church, but even now preparing for that. So you have this lovely little target just 10 years down the road, which seems like a long time, but you think, 2020 or 2013 wasn't so long ago, and now here we are 2023. So it goes very, very quickly. So it's nice to have that like long-term goal. And that's the idea, like where do we want to be in 10 years? And then you ask the question, well, where are we now? And then how are we going to get there? Like what's the best ways to get there? And then how might we do that? Like what takes more effort, less effort? But it's just really, really healthy kind of in discussions all around those things. So again, Jeff from Vernon, BC, God bless you. And Carrie as well. Well, God bless you as well. Welcome and thanks for chiming in. It always kind of helps me a little bit to know that there are people out there. So it's all good. So long-term planning, Companions of the Cross. So that's kind of the goal of that, was to say, where do we want to be as a church? Where do we want to be as parish? Where do we, the companions, want to be as a community? We think of guys that haven't even joined us yet, might be already ordained in 10 years. It's kind of neat to think of things like that. And then how do we prepare for that? And how do we best leverage it and make it work for us? So that was a really good week. The only thing is it's like a deep dive. People are asking me on the weekend, how was it? And I said it's very immersive, right? We're 6-7 hours a day we're at meetings, and then we're eating together, and we're celebrating Mass together, and we're praying together, and even after the meetings are over, there's often further discussions with certain guys, and so immersive that I felt like when I came back to the parish on Sunday, it's almost like, how do I do this? Like, I think it's that feeling like when you've been in Walt Disney World, for a week, and then you go to the airport in Orlando, and there's no Disney characters. It's not a ride. It's an airplane. It's, this is real security. You have to kind of come back to today and where we are and the practical things we need to do. But again, always good to have a long-term plan. And it was quite hopeful, actually. I thought we discerned well together as a group, which is always quite edifying. So that was good. So that was a big thing. So that was last week, again, at the farm. So we're back. Didn't solve all the problems of the world, nor did we try. But we think we have a plan going forward. So that's all good. So what else we talk about? Neat thing. This is one I was almost hesitated. One of the things coming back was I got a chance to watch a little football with Bishop Scott. So Bishop Scott and I are old football buddies, and he played and I did too. And we were different parts of the country, but so we both kind of like football and we watch it often, especially in the playoffs, and it's kind of fun. But we got into a discussion about a book that he was reading. He passed on to me, and it's an audio book actually I'm listening to Sanctify the World. And this is written by an author, so Wingle, I think his name is. He did an autobiography on John Paul II. He's written a number of books. He's more of like a journalist by trade, but he writes these theological books and very balanced. I think he has a very nice approach to things, and he's just really re-examining the Second Vatican Council, Vatican II. As we often just refer to it kind of in short. And it's neat because he goes into the deep dive of all the stuff that was going on in the background, probably 200 years of modern thinking and how that was affecting the church. Like we go take these things for granted, but things like liberal democracy and literacy, people moving into cities, urban life versus the agrarian kind of culture, education, science, technology, even basic technologies like just hot and cold running water and central heating and things that we again so take for granted. Again, in our own time, like modern transportation and social media and television, like these were huge things, and they're all kind of coming down the pipe. And then how does a church, which is 2,000 years old and sort of dogmatically set, in the sense that we have scripture and we have sacred teaching, which we have and need to maintain our sacred traditions. But then how do we interact then into an increasingly changing world that was changing quite fast? And that kind of accelerated by revolutions and things that were happening in the First and Second World War, which he lumps together. He calls it the 30-year war. And coming out of that, then where do we need to be? And various popes, where they were at with that. I think there's sort of a sense that we needed to continue this dialogue. And these couple of young theologians that were very much a part of that, you may have heard of them. One was Joseph Ratzinger, and the other was Cardinal, actually at the time a bishop, Karl Wojtyła. So it was eventually John Paul II, right? They were both young theologians that were there at the council, and they participated in that and were very much in favor of it. This is the thing, and so it tends to come out of Vatican II is sort of a couple different, I think both probably erroneous positions. One that, okay, great, everything's on the table now, we can kind of do what we want, or just to surrender into the popular culture. And then the other is almost like a rejection, a sense that it was a bad idea and we should have just stayed the way things were. Like the church was just seemed to be this big machine, and we had schools and we had hospitals and we had seminarians and lots of priests, and why not just keep doing that, but again, I've only got about halfway through the book, but I really kind of like the way he's framing it all. It's just to think it all through again. These were not just a roll of the dice. There was a lot going on, and some very bright people looked at this and thought about it and had been thinking about it for hundreds of years. And it was time for the council and the intentions of it and the need to be able to engage in the world without being swallowed by it. It's always a bit of a challenge. If you remember back when we were doing the capital campaign, we had a similar poster that I had borrowed. I think it was from actually Father James. And it had on it like three positions potentially one could take. One is a surrender, a sense of just kind of giving up and saying, we'll just be an extension of the culture. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Catholic. And that's not where we want to go. But nor should we be in a fortress where you have to learn the passcodes and kind of figure us out, and we'll check you out, and maybe you get in, maybe you don't. It's something called Gnosticism, like almost like the church's secret information, and that's not what we would want. And that kind of poster that we had, there was a middle church that was building a bridge across to a river to another place, and you put a little tent out there and say, okay, we're going to reach out into the wider culture, not bet the whole farm necessarily, but put a vanguard, an outreach, an attempt to connect with what's going on in the bigger world. And this is sort of what we're called to do. And what's ironic is you're always people who've surrendered, you look almost like you're doing, you're not open enough. And the people who have built the fortress think that you're too open, and you're kind of getting criticism sometimes from both sides. And maybe that's just the way it is. But I've been kind of impressed so far. I think this guy strikes really the right chord. So again, To Sanctify the World, it's out there. It's a bit of a slog. I'm listening to it on audio. I've ordered the book too. I want to read it as well. But it's one of those ones, I think, if you're trying to figure out some of the tensions that we find now, and some of the debates, and it's in politics, it's in economics, it's everywhere, but it's also in the church. Like, how do we find the balance between being authentic to our tradition and who we are, without being absorbed into the world or rejecting the world? Because it's this incarnational spirituality that we really are here. We live here. It's not our permanent residence. We're passing through, but it matters. But it shouldn't be what defines us. It's always tricky. You're trying to find that balance. You hear me going back and forth. But anyway, certainly recommend the book. It might be a good Lent for a couple of reasons. I think it's good information, but it's also might be a bit of work for you. I think if you haven't done philosophy in a while, and you're not into history, it could be a bit of a steep read. But I think things that are worthwhile are worth the effort if you just try to chunk away at it nice and slow. Or get the audio, which is what I did. And I just find out, I've just been listening to it in the car, and just let somebody else read it. I just want to listen. But I know a lot of these people, so it's easier for me because I can kind of follow it. So there it is. That's kind of my life in a nutshell. So it's snowing. We finished our long-term planning. I'm reading a book that's kind of got me a little bit engaged, and looking forward to, again, next week, it's already going to be February, and we're coming up, and a week after that, I think it's going to be Ash Wednesdays, and they're pretty soon. I think it's 3 weeks from there. So we're going to be in this pretty quick. I always find that January is a long month after Christmas. February is a little shorter, just a short month, and it goes by faster. And then by the time you're in March, you can actually start thinking about maybe seeing the grass again, and trees coming back to life. So it's always kind of fun to start to plan into sailing and things in the summertime, which is generally an easier time for us. So my good friends, again, Jeff and Carrie and Lee, thank you for chiming in. If anyone has a question, you could probably post it now, and I'll try to address it maybe before I go. But that's kind of it. Just the thought of the night. Like I say, it's if not that book, find yourself a book. Like there's stuff out there. There's so much good stuff. I know that Father Schmidt is doing the Catechism in a year. He did a Bible in a year. That was in the past. Now they're doing another Catechism in a year. And what a great thing to do. So just chuck away at it. Most of us overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 5. So if we plug away at a book, or get yourself into something a little more challenging, but nonetheless informative, I think it's just better than sort of what I feel. It kind of gets us out of that, and maybe challenges us to expand a little bit, and to think about a little bit more than we normally do. But anyway, that's my thought for the night. So if not my book, find another one. I think there's some good stuff out there. Good stuff. Yeah, Jeff, I think you've been seeing grass here all month. I know, above zero, and it's been warm. I've heard that, so that's good, and long may continue. BC has had a tough go. So if you guys have a mild winter and an easy one, all the better for you, brother. I'm happy for that. So maybe we'll finish with a little prayer. May the good Lord continue to watch over, guide, and protect you. May the saints and angels intercede for you. May our Blessed Mother wrap you in the mantle of her peace, and may God bless you and keep you this night. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.